Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Welcome back to the class, rather. Today we have another, and actually the last video for our Badly Geared Batch series. In today's video, we're actually going to be doing it a little bit differently, because along with showing you guys some footage with Bad Batch against Bounty Hunters, which is what the footage that is currently rolling right now, we are also going to be talking about a general conclusion for this team. What were my overall thoughts? Do I regret my decision to dump about 1,000 Kairos to get these guys to Gear 11? Were the Zetas worth it? Were they worth the matchmaking GP? All the above. That's really what I want to try to answer here today. So we are a little TLDR on the Bounty Hunter team because we're going to spend more time on the conclusion. It's a pretty much about the same relativity, or it has about the same amount of strength against a Geo team, where it counters it really well. If the opponent goes first, you need to have a fifth, otherwise you really risk a loss. Like, in fact, actually this first battle here, spoiler alert, it's going to be a loss because I specifically made sure that my team was number 1, slower, and number 2, I didn't take in a fifth. You get burned in the beginning, can't really get rid of it right away, can't really give your team turn meter because of the burning with Django lead. It was pretty similar with Bossk. You get stuck behind Bossk and you can't really do a lot. But yeah, so they counter them pretty well. Soft counter, pretty solid. And that's a lot. That's really a lot of how the matches went for those guys who watched the full series and watched the full battles. They're a pretty consistent counter to most B- level teams. Not 100%, but they're a pretty solid counter to most B- teams, and they just absolutely destroy the weaker, like C+ teams, kind of like Newt, for example, the one we went through that battle. So, long story short, I do not regret my decision. I think they were a fantastic gear, at least for my level. Again, I have 5.5 million GP. I'm going to be going into the new Division 4 that is confirmed very recently. And here's the thing. If we were not switching divisions right now, if I were not be required to place 2 more teams on defense, I don't think this would have been worth it. I just don't. Since doing this, besides testing in Arena, I have probably used them in a GAC battle, I think a total of 3 times now, maybe 4, and they lost 1 of those times. And in every single one of those instances, I already had a team that could do what they could do. I already had a team that could have beat Premium First Order, one of the teams they're really, really good against. I already had a team that could beat Geos. I already had a team that could take down half of a Grievous team. So if we were not changing divisions, if we were not requiring more teams, for my personal roster, this would have just been a passion project. This really wouldn't have gotten to anywhere, wouldn't have been that really great of a decision for my gear. That being said, with divisions increasing, I do not regret this decision at all. They're a fantastic team, at least at Gear 11, to be able to kill all those B- or C+ teams, and they do it for really, really good banners. You can see right now we're in the second battle already here. They're just absolutely smashing through this Bounty Hunter team. Because we had Barris in the beginning, or even if you're faster, that works too. And so really, really happy with them overall. I'm very excited to be able to use them more on offense. I think they're at least at Gear 11, they're primarily going to be an offensive team. They just kind of fall really hard when they don't have someone controlling them. There's a few different things that the AI doesn't run as well as it could. But overall, they're still a pretty fun team to use. They have a lot of things going for them. They have a few pretty clear weaknesses that do need to be avoided just for teams coming in the future. One of the big things in all my testing through all the teams we went through, the one thing that seemed to be a huge issue were teams where we could not consistently land the debuffs on them to be able to control the enemy team, trying to make up for that gear difference. So things like tenacity up on the enemy team, things like constant cleanses, or things like just natural tenacity that they get from a lead. Those 3 things really, really mess with the Bad Batch. They don't really have enough consistent buff removal. Of course, Echo has his AoE buff removal in the very beginning. That's really great. But for example, let's say you're up against the Padme team and she goes and cleanses all that, and you don't really have anything to do at that point. You're kind of just done for. And once they do get geared higher, I think all those B- teams that we were talking about, they're a pretty good soft counter for. I think they turn into a really hard counter really, really fast. I don't have the footage myself because mine are still Gear 11. but I have friends that have, or other players that have them at relics, and GG, who we can really only beat at gear 11 with like very specific circumstances. At relics, they just obliterate them. Like, it's absolutely no contest. So if you get them to gear 11 now, they will kill a lot of C+ teams, like around Newt level teams, around like just kind of bad teams, like Phasma level teams. We destroyed another bounty hunter team, actually, that they'll destroy those teams really, really well. And they have a really good shot at like the B- teams. They have a really good shot at Geonosians. They have a really good shot at Night Sisters. They have a really good shot at Premium First Order. Those aren't really guaranteed wins, but those are enough to get your foot in the door. And then once you do eventually get their stars up and they're already gear 11, you've already gotten a huge amount of the gear out of the way. So you can automatically just take them up. So even, I think low relic levels is probably where I would take them, at least in the beginning. I think maybe everyone on the team ranging anywhere from R2 to R5. I don't really see anyone on the team who needs to be higher than R5 right now. They don't really have a clear damage dealer. They still do a lot of damage through other means like debuffs and exposes and whatnot. Maybe Wrecker, just because he really needs to be able to tank the hits. But honestly, I would really love to gear 13 all of them, just for the speed, just for the potency boost that comes through their finishers. Really, really solid team overall. So basically, the conclusion for this video is, do not regret it. Anyone who's thinking about doing this team, depending on the rest of the teams you have, I think it's a good idea. I think it was a very, very good idea for me. I think they really outclass a lot of the other teams at gear 11. Like, so many other teams at gear 11 could not do what this team is currently doing, taking on like really pretty decent like B- gear 12, gear 13 teams. So that being said, that is going to be it for this video. We are going to have some other series coming up, different from the Bad Batch. I'm going to strain a little bit from them. If you guys really did want to see something to do with them, just let me know. But I'm gonna move on for the most part, because we've got enough footage through enough teams to get a general idea of how they function at this gear level. So that was the purpose of the series, and I believe that purpose has been fulfilled. Now, with that being said, our next series is actually going to be on Galactic Legend reviews. One of the most common things that we always talk about in my streams is, oh, this Galactic Legend's good, oh, this Galactic Legend's bad. And at the end of the day, they're all really good, but they're not all good at the same things. And that's one of the really big things that I want to hit on in that series. So let me know if you guys want to see anything else. But until then, you can catch my streams on Twitch every 2 p.m. every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. But until the next video, or until then, stay awesome.